Ever feel like you're stuck on that hamster wheel? Working crazy hard, but not really getting ahead financially. You're putting in the hours, but your bank account's not really showing for it.
Yeah, it's like you're running in place.
Yeah,
You're putting in all the effort.
exactly. And it can get so frustrating. So we're diving into this idea today. Working smart, not hard.
And it's not about being lazy or anything like
Well,
that.
no, not at all. It's more about being strategic.
Absolutely. It's about understanding the systems and making them work for you.
And that's where someone like Robert Kiyosaki comes in. He's kind of a big deal in the finance world, right?
He really challenges you to rethink how you view work and wealth.
So when we say work smart, not hard, what are we really getting at?
Well, it all comes down to the difference between hard work and smart work. Most of us, we're familiar with hard work, trading our time for money. You clock in, you do the work, and you get paid for those hours. It's essential, but there's a limit to how far that can take you.
Because there are only so many hours in a day, right?
Exactly. Smart work, though, is about using your knowledge, your skills, and leveraging them to create income that isn't tied to the hours you personally put in.
So it's like building something that can work for you even when you're not physically working. I like the sound of that.
That's the heart of it. Imagine spending months, maybe years, learning a new skill, building a business. You're putting in the smart work up front. Let's say you create an online course.
Right. And then once it's up and running.
People can buy it, learn from it, and you earn income even when you're not actively working on it, maybe while you're sleeping or, on a well-deserved vacation.
That's the dream. You're creating something that keeps generating even when you're not directly involved.
Exactly. You're creating assets, systems that generate wealth even when you're not trading time for it directly. It's what Kiyosaki calls leverage.
Okay, I think I'm starting to see the light here. It's about playing the long game, right? Like putting in the work up front to create something that pays off way down the line. But I think it would help to get into some real world examples, make this whole work smart thing really click.
Okay, imagine someone stuck in that time for money trap. They're always working hard, but they're always trading their time for limited income. It's like they're running as fast as they can, but not getting anywhere financially.
Been there, that feeling of always chasing your tail, you're exhausted, but the situation's not really improving.
Now, picture someone like Warren Buffett. Everyone's heard of him.
Wait, Warren Buffett, the billionaire investor.
The one and only. He's a prime example of smart work. He didn't become wealthy by trading his time for money. He built wealth through smart investments, understanding financial markets, and making his money work for him.
So he created a system where his money is constantly generating more wealth, even while he's, say, enjoying a cherry Coke. That's what financial freedom looks like.
That's it. Smart work is about working differently, more strategically, building those income-generating assets.
I don't know about you, but this is really making me rethink how I approach work and money. This whole working smart thing, it's really got me thinking, it's not just about working differently, right? It's almost like you have to think differently.
You hit the nail on the head. And, Kiyosaki, he's a big advocate for financial education, understanding how money really works. He'd say it's just as crucial as your traditional education.
Yeah, like it's not just about knowing how to write that perfect essay or solve those tricky equations. It's knowing how to put your money to work for you. But what does that actually look like in the real world?
Well, think about things like compound interest. That's how your money can grow over time. Exponentially, it's wild. Or knowing the ins and outs of assets and liabilities, good debt versus bad debt. And of course, understanding investments, assessing risks, and building a solid portfolio.
Okay, I hear you. And you're using these financial terms, and I'm realizing maybe my grasp on this whole money game needs a bit of a refresh. So for those of us who aren't, Wall Street gurus, where do we even begin with this whole financial education thing?
You don't need to be a financial expert to get started. There are tons of resources out there these days. Books, podcasts, online courses, galore. You can even chat with people who are financially savvy. You'd be amazed by what you can pick up.
Speaking of resources, one of the sources we looked at used this phrase that stuck with me, earning versus investing. It perfectly highlights what we've been discussing.
I'm curious. Tell me more about that distinction. What resonated with you?
To me, earning, it feels very immediate, very much in that time for money mindset. You work, you get paid a straightforward exchange. Investing, on the other hand, feels different. It suggests putting your money to work for you, making it grow, even when you're not clocking in hours.
Exactly. And Kiyosaki, he talks about this as active versus passive income. Active income, that's from your job, trading time for a paycheck. But passive income, that's where it gets exciting. That's the income generated from assets you own, businesses you've built, systems you've set up. It keeps flowing even when you're not actively working.
Passive income. Okay, now that sounds like a dream come true. What are some examples? What kind of things generate this passive income?
The possibilities are practically endless. Think about rental income from a property you own, those checks rolling in, or dividends from stocks royalties from a book you wrote maybe even years ago, or income from that online course or a YouTube channel. These are all about passive income because that money keeps flowing in even when you're not actively working on them.
So instead of just trading your time for money, you're creating these money-making machines that work tirelessly for you, even while you sleep. It's genius.
You've got it. That's leverage in action, a fundamental principle of working smart, wouldn't you say?
This is all incredibly eye-opening, but I can almost hear our listeners now scribbling notes thinking, okay, I need to figure out rental properties, write a best-selling book, and launch a YouTube empire all while juggling my current job. It can feel a tad overwhelming.
You're absolutely right. It's easy to get caught up in that feeling of overwhelm. But here's the good news. You don't have to do everything at once. In fact, you don't have to do all of those things at all. The key takeaway here is to shift your mindset. Think about how you're using your time, your unique skills, your resources to create potential avenues of income.
So maybe it's not always about that 9 to 5 grind, but about thinking how we can leverage our existing knowledge, our passions, maybe even our hobbies, into something that could generate income down the line.
You're catching on quickly. It's about tapping into that creative side, figuring out what you excel at, and finding ways to leverage those strengths for long-term gains. Would you agree?
Absolutely. And speaking of things that are often overlooked, you mentioned there's one more piece to this working smart puzzle, didn't you? You're right. You're right. It's easy to get caught up in trying to do everything at once. But you were about to tell us about that one often overlooked aspect of working smart. What was it?
Yes. It's the power of your network and mentors. Having those connections can make all the difference.
Okay, so it's not just what you know, but who you know too. I'll be honest though, networking always makes me feel a little, I don't know, awkward. Like I'm just out there trying to take something from people.
I totally get that. It shouldn't feel transactional at all. Instead of thinking about it like, what can I get?
Yeah.
Think of it like, who can I learn from? Surround yourself with inspiring, challenging people who've already done what you're striving for.
Okay, so less about schmoozing, more about surrounding yourself with the right people, people who can elevate you. And what about mentorship? Where does that fit in?
Mentorship is amazing. Finding a mentor, someone who's already walked that path you want to take, it's like having a shortcut. They can guide you, help you avoid those pitfalls. They already know where the hidden gems are.
They're like your own personal Yoda for the financial world. I love that. But for those of us who don't have a financial guru on speed dial, where do we even find these mentors, these amazing connections?
You'd be surprised. Look around. Who do you admire? Who's doing something you find really inspiring? Don't be afraid to reach out. You'd be surprised how many people are willing to share their knowledge.
Yeah, and sometimes just putting yourself out there, joining communities online, offline, who knows what those connections might lead to. This has been great, but let's get practical. What are some things our listeners can do, like today, to start working smarter?
Well, we were talking about compound interest earlier. One of the most powerful things you can do is start investing early. Even if it's just small amounts, consistency is key. Over time, thanks to the magic of compounding, those small amounts can grow significantly.
It's like that saying, right? The best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. The second best time, today. But how do you even start investing? It can feel so intimidating.
You can start small. There are apps out there that let you invest your spare change, even micro-investing platforms. It's not about the amount, it's about taking that first step.
And let's not forget about automation. That's a game changer. Setting up those automatic transfers into your savings and investment accounts, it's like you're building wealth on autopilot, even when you're busy living life.
That's right. And this ties back to what we were talking about earlier, that whole shift from earning to investing. Start looking for opportunities to create assets that generate income, rather than just trading your time for money.
So that could be what, like taking a course to learn a new skill, maybe starting a side hustle, or investing in equipment to launch that small online business you've been dreaming of.
You got it. It's all about thinking outside the box, about tapping into your creativity. Identify your strengths and find ways to leverage them. It's about those long-term gains.
This has been such an inspiring conversation. If our listeners take away just one thing from this deep dive, I hope it's that working smarter isn't about some get-rich-quick scheme. It's about changing your mindset, investing in yourself, and creating systems that support your financial well-being.
Well said. It's all about playing the long game, making choices today that will benefit you down the road,
Yeah.
and surrounding your health with the right people.
Absolutely. Find those mentors, connect with those who inspire you, and never stop learning. There's a whole world of opportunities waiting to be discovered.
That's right, a world of possibilities. Now go out there and create your own version of working smart.
And on that note of inspiration, it's time to wrap up this deep dive. We'll catch you in the next episode, where we'll be, you guessed it, diving deep into another fascinating topic. Until then, keep those brains engaged and that hustle going.